So let's continue our journey through the Jurassic World universe, and let's focus in now on Jurassic Park 2, The Lost World. Jurassic Park The Lost World is a movie that was released in 1997, starring Jeff Goldblum, Julianne Moore, Vince Vaughn, Peter Postlethwaite, and Richard Attenborough, directed by Steven Spielberg. And this time, whilst it is also based off a novel by Michael Crichton, he this time does not return to help write the screenplay for this. This is just completely going solo. Now, initially, I did have some fun with this movie. It's something that does sort of take the whole idea of what Jurassic Park was to another level, takes it on and develops the story a little bit more. But there are some absolutely horrendous parts of this movie that just stick with you and just sours the experience, if I'm honest. Those of you that have watched this film are probably going to know exactly what one part of that in particular really is, but let's get into it. So The Lost World picks up 4 years after the events of Jurassic Park, and the first thing that we see is a deserted island where a rich British family land as part of their cruise. They're served quite a nice lunch, seemingly by their butlers and other servants, whilst their daughter goes off and just plays in the wilderness on a deserted island. I mean, why wouldn't you just let your kid do that? But hey ho, who am I to judge? As she goes further and further sort of across the island, she encounters small dinosaurs that we know now are called tarpies. They're completely new, completely different to what we've seen in Jurassic Park. She ends up getting attacked by them. They start off by just one or two, and like you might encounter when you go and see wild monkeys, if you give them one little thing, the whole swarm, the whole pack to sort of descend upon you and just take everything away. Unfortunately for the girl, what they've taken away from her is probably her skin. But that attack ultimately leads to the beginning of the plot of this movie, and that is that John Hammond has summoned Ian Malcolm to come and see him. And what we learn that's happened in between the two films is that Ian Malcolm, while signing a non-disclosure agreement to not divulge anything that he saw at the park, he has actually become a whistleblower about the incidents that have happened on the park with people dying, the dinosaurs getting loose, and everything else involved in that, really. That has led to InGen basically discrediting him as a professor, as a doctor. It's led to him having his tenure cancelled. It's led to him having his reputation dragged through the mud. And it's something that he does hold a grudge against InGen for, and quite rightfully so, to be honest. But the key thing is that the incident that happened with the little girl on the island has led to InGen taking control of the company from John Hammond. Now, the major issue is that Jurassic Park wasn't the only island that he had. He also had another island called Isla Sorna, which is known as Site B. And Site B is where the dinosaurs, when they're born, they get taken over to so they can begin to sort of develop their skills and whilst they grow. And then they get brought back over into Jurassic Park. Now, with Jurassic Park gone, these animals have just been left to flourish with no gates, no control. It's just a case of wild, or running wild, basically. And what John Hammond wants to do is create a in-depth, detailed fossil record by sending a team of researchers onto the island just to document and observe the behaviour patterns of the dinosaurs that are on there. However, the dinosaurs have become very territorial and have taken over certain parts of the island, which is quite interesting when you first think about it. Unfortunately, the film does very little in practice to make it as interesting as it sounds. Ian Malcolm doesn't really want to go back to the island, considering what happened in the first one, and I don't think anyone would want to go back, considering they almost got eaten by a dinosaur. But he gets tempted because John Hammond has basically done the dirty yet again by recruiting his girlfriend to go over there before even speaking to Dr. Malcolm. That causes him to then want to go to the island to rescue his girlfriend before she gets eaten. That all sounds quite simple enough, really, and it is quite a simple plot. However, everything is just made or ground to a halt by the existence of Dr. Malcolm's daughter, Kelly. And Kelly is just the epitome of a studio just wanting, or a script just wanting to almost just recreating the magic of the first one. The first one had 2 children in it, just to show the pure horror element of them being involved in the circumstance that happened. This one seems to just want to shoehorn a girl or a child into it, and by doing so, they've just created the most irritating character going. Initially, she begins to have a conversation with Dr. Malcolm, her dad, who is trying to get her to stay with someone while he's away. But unfortunately, she's not very happy with that. She takes that, or she tries to sort of emotionally blackmail him by saying that he doesn't care about her. And he, well, insensitively makes a comment about her gymnastics career with the school, unknowingly, or not without knowing that she's actually been cut from the team. Bad dad. After hearing about all of this, he basically says to her, "Oh, you know what? Don't listen to me. I'm not the person to take advice from." And she takes that to mean that everything I said about you not coming to the island with me, just ignore that and sneak on the RVs that were taken onto the island and surprise me with a horrendously burnt home cooked meal. That'd be fun. Anyway, Dr. Malcolm goes over there with Vince Vaughn's Nick and Eddie, who essentially is the field operations guy. And they find Sarah in the end, who's played by Julianne Moore. However, what they quickly find is they're not the only ones on the island, because InGen have decided to send their own team over there, full of hunters who are led by Roland, who's played by Pete Postlethwaite. The whole point of them on the islands, they find out, is that actually they've created a new type of Jurassic Park, an amphitheatre that's going to be set in San Diego. And the whole point is to go over there and capture dinosaurs to bring over to San Diego for an attraction that everyone can access quite easily rather than having to travel to Costa Rica. There's a few incidents that happen with regards to the camp not being aware of each other's presence there until our smaller group become aware. They release the dinosaurs that camp has captured, and that causes their equipment to be damaged in a stampede. At the same time, 2 T-Rexes come after our small group after they take away the Tyrannosaurus cub to try and fix up its broken leg. Yeah. That results in all their equipment being destroyed as well. And I mean, it's got to have a shout out now. Eddie is perhaps the best character in all of this. Without him, nothing else exists in this movie, rightly or wrongly. And, you know, he does try his best. You can't really lay the blame at the rest of the film being the second half of this film at his door. He does try his best to save the characters. And it's not just a case of him trying to save the characters by doing one thing. He tries to save the equipment. He saves them from falling off the edge of the cliff. He sticks the daughter up in a high canopy, sort of cage, to keep her out of harm's way. He protects everyone apart from himself, unfortunately, and he ends up getting eaten by both T-Rexes, who just split him in half. Now that they're both stranded, both camps, they come together as one in order to try and get to the communication centre in the middle of the island to signal for help and escape. However, as I said, the dinosaurs are all territorial. Certain dinosaurs taken over certain territories, and the one species of dinosaur that's taken over the territory where the communications place is are the velociraptors, because why not? Now, the team manages to get through the velociraptors. Nick manages to radio in rescue, and they do manage to get off the island. I'm going to come back to this bit because this bit really does grate on me, but let's just speed forward and just carry on with the plot. And that is that the film doesn't just end with them getting off the island. The problem is that Roland has had a personal goal or mission to capture a T-Rex, which he does do. T-Rex gets shipped over to San Diego, and somehow, I still don't know how, the crew end up dead on the boat, but the boat still docks. And it's almost as if the T-Rex has, I don't know, done some international espionage and taken out the crew and then ferried the boat into the dock himself whilst hiding, ready just to pop out and attack everybody. I don't know. It sounds as stupid as the way I'm making it sound. The T-Rex goes and gets some water just to quench their thirst after a long drive or long travel across the water by going into a suburban household's pool and drinking out of it, which is quite fun because you get to see a kid really excited about seeing a T-Rex there, not knowing really actually how terrifying that is. The parents don't believe him, they then see it, and it's just chaos inside the house. It is actually quite fun. And the best bit is it's quite short. T-Rex then starts to wander down the main street, just terrifying everybody in sight, eating people at random, seemingly just for sport. And you do get a fun throwback to the whole Godzilla movies, where you get a group of Japanese guys pointing up at the dinosaur and screaming and running. And I don't care what anyone says, it is clearly a Godzilla reference. Don't tell me otherwise. So Dr. Malcolm and Sarah decide that, knowing somehow that the baby T-Rex has also been brought over by plane, that they are going to go and rescue that from the new Jurassic Park set, bring it over to the boat and coax the T-Rex back onto it so it can get sailed back to the island. No idea how they're going to guarantee that it gets there. No idea how they're going to say that the crew, guarantee the crew survives the journey, even though the previous crew didn't. I don't know. It just ends that way. The T-Rex gets back safe and sound, and that's it. The end. Now, this film does have its flaws and does have quite a few. That's putting it mildly. The first one is the level CGI. Now, 4 years previously, in the first Jurassic Park, we were just marvelled by the quality of the CGI. And for some reason, that has taken a heavy downgrade in the 4 years since, where this film is just, it's ropey, it's just not good. And quite clearly, the people who made this understood just the limitations of what they had at the time. And I get it was 1997, but like I said, the effects from 4 years previously were so much better and even hold up today compared to these ones that just do not hold up at all. Luckily though, that CGI is used sparingly, and they do favour animatronics, which brings it back a little bit, and it does actually make it feel a lot more real behind the action that's going on. And yeah, it actually makes it a lot more fun in the movie. We also have the classic tropes that you get in a sequel, where you have everything sort of being cranked up to 11 compared to the previous movie. So the previous Jurassic Park had 1 T-Rex, this one has 2. You have the 2 T-Rex attacks, but this one has 4 Velociraptors attacking compared to the 2 in the previous movie. Everything is just multiplied further. But the other sort of fun part of this movie really is the introduction to more dinosaurs and the wider universe behind it, the wider world of the dinosaurs that have taken over the island. We get to actually sort of see the other dinosaurs in action as well, and just a little bit more exploration of the different territories really, about what dinosaurs went through certain parts or took over certain parts. It is quite nice to see that actually the care has been taken to craft a bigger world, rather than just the plot-driven narrative of, yeah, let's go onto the island, let's rescue this person, let's get rescued now that we're deserted on here, etc., etc. There is actually a bit more background put into it, which is nice to see. But now let's get to the issue, and that is the daughter, Kelly, and everything she brings with her, the negative energy, the whining, the fact that she slows everything down. And the worst bit of all is the idea of her being a gymnast coming back to haunt not just the velociraptors, but the audience as well. It is perhaps the most ridiculous thing I've seen, and we're talking about a movie that has dinosaurs that have been cloned back from extinction. Is the fact that velociraptors are attacking Kelly and Sarah, and Kelly decides at that point to showcase her amateur gymnastic skills, where she starts swinging on a trapeze whilst the velociraptor, rather than carrying on with his attack, he just stops and marvels at this amazing exhibition of gymnastic prowess that's unfolding in front of him. And unfortunately, the hypnosis that seems to take place with Kelly's loop-the-loop and flipping around on random metal bars results in the dinosaur being kicked out the window, and then they can actually get away and call for help. It doesn't. She spends more time flipping around on the bars than she does actually kicking the dinosaur, and it's for that reason that this film really does irritate me. Not to mention that the whole idea of the Tyrannosaurus roaming the streets of San Diego just seems tacked on as well. It doesn't really add anything to the plot, if I'm honest. It hints at the idea of, okay, man went to a dinosaur's land in the first one. There's a little bit more of a reversal, the fact dinosaurs coming to where man inhabits, but it doesn't do anything. It's there for literally about 10-15 minutes and then it's all over. So it just gives you a little bit of a tease to what life would be like if the dinosaurs were on the sort of mainland with humankind. But that's it. It doesn't do anything else. And it's just, what I heard was that Steven Spielberg wanted to include, I think, a scene like that in the original. And it just seems as though this movie was created with, a decent plot, but just with the excuse of getting that scene tacked in, or that whole plot line tacked onto it. But overall, I will say that this is a fun watch. It's something that you can just sit back, you can follow quite easily. And the fact that the film isn't so reliant on CGI, that is quite poor, the fact that it does sort of go back to its roots, and it does still try and progress the story along from the original Jurassic Park, I will give this a 3 stars. So what do you guys think of Jurassic Park The Lost World? Whatever you thought about it, just let me know in the comment section, and don't forget to like and subscribe. We're going to continue on with our journey next time with Jurassic Park 3. But until then, I will see you again soon.